comment about how I prefer. Bed actually. That took me 16 minutes to do, and I was really taking my time, just enjoying music. I was listening to Celine Dion, and it finished up with I'm Alive, which just is such a beautiful, uplifting song, and I really, really do love that. I played that a lot in winter mornings, as kind of like a way to, keep the winter blues away, just as a reminder, I'm alive. It's a really beautiful song. So anyway, this is ready to be cut out now. And as always, I remembered to make sure that I note that I've got not added seam allowances to it, just so that I don't forget. But should be ready to go. It's such a glorious day, though. The temptation is just to stop, drop, and go outside. But I have made a goal, and I'm a woman on a mission, and we're going to see this through. Let's go up to the sewing cave now. Okay, so we're going to take the back and the front after we've cut it out, and then we're just going to sew along the shoulder seams. You can choose to finish this off first if you want to, but we're going to do that first. Okay, you're going to match up your notches, the shoulder to shoulder. Okay, you're going to grab your wonder clips, you're going to notch your shoulder there, and then you're going to match the end of the sleeve to the bottom of the armscye and over here as well. And so when you sew it, you're going to be stretching it out and making it fit in, and you've got an opposing curve here, so you'll have to kind of like stretch it and pull it out. So let's go take it over. Okay, when I'm sewing it, I prefer to have the bodice on the bottom, and then I'll put the sleeve on the top. That way I've got more control over it. So just gonna get that started. Okay, and I'm going to be stopping making sure that everything is nice and flat. Okay. Go onto the back there, and you're going to make sure that you've got everything lined up. And so then you've got that sewn on. Okay, so now that that's been done, we're going to do the underarm seam, and the important place to connect up is this point here, and then we're just going to do this in one go. Okay, so now you have a jumper. Super easy, very, very quick. And remember, knits are very forgiving. So when you're sewing up something like this, you can use this as an opportunity to try maybe sewing a little bit faster, not using your pins, and maybe trying to trace out the pattern without seam allowances and then adding the seam allowances as you cut out. So once we have this, the thing that I'm not sure about is whether the cuffs will make this long enough. So before I cut out the cuffs, I'm actually going to try it out and eyeball whether that's going to be long enough. And that's pretty okay. So I'm perfectly happy with this. So I'm just going to make my cuffs probably about this thick, and then I will make them cuff in here. And I'm going to do a hemband before I go on to do any pressing. But at this point, you can check if you like the length of the sleeves or if you like the length of the actual garment itself. This is always such an exciting point for me when I actually have a garment that I can wear and put on. And when I was a baby seamstress, sometimes I would skip finishing the garment altogether because I'd just be like, who cares about the finishes? I've got a garment. Is this enough? But now I don't do that. I actually finish it. So, Oh, the neck is a little bit tight. It is a little bit tight. So this is a, you have to do your hair and your makeup after you put on the jumper kind of thing. Otherwise, it is going to mess up your hair. And the fold goes in like so. Oh, not bad. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. You know, I'm not sure about the hemband. If I put in a hemband, I would rather it get up to about here. I feel like it's a little bit too long for my liking. So I will put a hemband and make it so that it's going up to here and make it more tight on there, as in the hemband is going to be sitting on here. And then I'll have the cuffs over there. So it's really very loose fitting. Really, I could have gone down a size, absolutely, but the neck is definitely a little bit on the tighter side, so I wouldn't be using any interfacing. I did think about putting some interfacing just to make the collar a little bit stiffer, but I was just a little bit worried about this, and it turns out that I was right. So you don't want to put on any interfacing because that would just make this collar so much more stiffer, but I'm liking what it's looking like. Okay, so I've cut out the cuffs, which I just measured out to go like that. I'm going to sew them in the round to make a tube, which I'll then turn inside out and sew onto the dress. Okay, so I've sewn the tube, and let's make it like that. And that's going to be my cuff. And I always check with the cuffs that I'll be able to do this, because this is important for me to be able to do. Right. So that's going to get sewn on. So then what you have is that. So that now has a cuff. So for my hemband, I'm just going to measure where I prefer my hemband to go. And that's here for me. I like this length. I like to break my body up from around this is where my hip bone is, and up, like, I don't know, I just feel like it works better. But so I'm going to measure that, right? So I'm going to measure that like so, and I'm going to take that, and then I'm just going to fold this in half. That's my measurement. Then I'm going to add my seam allowance, which is 1/2 inch, about that, and then I'm going to cut on the fold. So this side will go onto the fold, and that's what I'm going to cut, right? So that was the fold, that was the measurement, plus the seam allowance, and that's going to give me the nice snug fit. So I now have to make my little tube. Okay, so there's the base of my sweater. I've already cut off the extra length that I didn't want. So I've got my hemband, which I'm going to fold in half, like so. Yep. And then I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to stretch it out to match this, and then sew it in the round. Right, so we have a situation where our hemband is smaller than the bottom of our hem, so it's going to have a slightly puffiness to it. Oh, didn't quite get you in there. Okay, now I'm going to sew that on. are done now. So let's give this a go. Yeah, the neck is really, really tight. Very tight. Yeah, that will need some work. Okay. I'll need to give it a press though. And sew down the neck. But for 30 minutes of sewing, this isn't too bad. There you go. See what I meant about how I prefer my hemband to be kind of like that. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Apart from the neck being too tight to pull it on. That's the thing. But with French terry, you don't have as much stretch. Let's see. I like it. I like it. So I'm gonna give it a press and just sew. That might not be a good idea actually, because when you stretch it out, I'll see. I'll think about it.